know, Terrance Crawford, he lit the room on fire and then walked out. He's accusing Bob Arum, Top Rank Boxing, of racial bias. He doesn't think they really know how to promote people of a certain complexion. You know what I mean? A certain complexion out there.
It caught me by surprise, and I was saying, what? Racial bias? But when you think of things, we have time to think of things and really gather all the evidence, and you listen to the point of view of the person who's making the accusation, and you try to look at both sides and be objective, right? And you try to look through both sides' lens, right? I think the lawsuit itself is going to be very hard to prove, but regardless of that, it's still a bad look, even being accused of that. And I think Crawford is retaliating for all of the, bad stuff that Bob Arum said about him in public, right? So now there's already bad blood between the two. So now Crawford's flipping the script and throwing it back at Bob. So I think this is retaliation. I think this is basically him trying to, paint Bob Arum and Top Rank in a negative light, the way he feels he was painted in a negative light by some of the things that Bob was saying about him.
Yeah, this is a serious situation right here. Whenever you bring race into the equation, it makes it something bigger than boxing. We know that Bob Arum is the guy that took Terrance Crawford under his wing and made Terrance Crawford the fighter that he is today. It was Bob Arum that gave Terrance Crawford an opportunity when Terrance Crawford was Timothy Bradley's sparring partner, and nobody knew who Terrance Crawford was. Terrance Crawford, 3-division world champion, former undisputed champion, pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world. This is serious business right here, man. I don't know what to think of it right now, because Terrance Crawford, he feel like, he was done wrong. He feel like Top Rank and Bob Arum are racially biased. Maybe they prefer, he feels like they prefer maybe the white fighters or Latino fighters. I guess that's what he's saying. It's going to be hard to prove that. That's the whole point. How is Terrance Crawford going to prove that Bob Arum is being racially biased?
I don't know if you guys saw the debrief that came out that was in all the news sites, right? That kind of laid out the basic premise of the lawsuit and all this. I'm assuming here that you guys are like me and it takes a lot to offend you. I grew up in communities where you showed love by talking shit, and I looked at that and I thought, to use the 80s expression, where's the beef? There's just nothing there that screams racism. Now, in fairness, Bob Arum's 90. Okay, this dude was born before World War II. He comes from a different generation. Has he said things that some people might deem out of touch, insensitive? Sure, we can have that discussion. But racist, you got to prove that. And proving intent, proving someone's feelings and intentions in a court of law, it's nearly impossible. Unless Terrance Crawford and his team have, screenshots of emails, voice messages, or there is a directive put down from Arum, let's say, to a top-rank employee saying, hey, pay this guy this much, pay that guy that much, because, this guy's from this group and that guy's from that group. Unless there is a directive like that, there's nothing to this.
Here's how I look at it. And, I try to look at both sides of the story, both ends of the spectrum. And when I look at it, outside of Tyson Fury, there's nobody that gets paid more than Terrance Crawford did on Top Rank. And like as mentioned before, the man got $3-something million against Showtime Sean Porter on the pay-per-view that was last played just last year. All right, I believe a month or two ago. The thing with this situation, I mean, what I do find intriguing is that he might have some backing, and that might be what brings it to court, possibly, if he does have anything on Bob Arum. I mean, because I do see that is supporting him, Dennis Ugas, which you know, hey, if people were did wrong by Bob Arum, then you got to bring it to court, and you got to show substantial evidence. But given the situation, given Bob Arum's pockets and possibly who he knows in that realm, dealing with lawyers, I don't know how Terrance Crawford could win.
Hearing from a guy like Barry Hearn, who's Eddie Hearn's father, saying things like, back in the day, they used to give them, and I think he said it on a Dillier White press conference, things such as slave wages, etc., which was a bit distasteful from Barry Hearn. I do believe that Bob Arum, within the last 2-year period, has probably said some arguably racist stuff behind closed doors. I'm pretty convinced about that. He's look, like the boxing historian said, he did call the UFC fans a bunch of skinhead white guys watching people in the ring who look like skinhead white guys, etc. Of all of his champions, his world champions currently, he's only got 10 world champions, and only one of them is black. From the outside looking in, does it do I believe that Bob Arum has racial bias? Potentially. Can you prove that he's got racial bias? That's another thing. Now, just because Crawford had his highest career payday from Top Rank, did he have the maximum opportunity in Top Rank? Because the combined loss where he's looking to recuperate from this whole lawsuit is around $10 million US. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I've just worked it out to be probably the Pacquiao fight not falling through, and potentially the Errol Spence fight not fighting, combined of which maybe you could argue $5 million each.
Here's the truth, okay? We don't need to get like boggled down in the whole like, is Bob Arum a racist? Is he not racist? If we're gonna be real, like real, everyone is like somewhat racist. Everyone has some prejudice. Like, but is Bob racist to the point that he should be sued over it? I don't know. I can't answer that. But what we can do is talk about the way that the court of law works. And in a court of law, you have to prove something like that, you know, by the law. Can this be done? No. Just like, you know, Montero said, it can't really be. There's no meat there. Just like he said, perfectly said. The beef of this case is based on, you know, allegations and you know, words that were probably not very smart. But at the end of the day, I do think Bob saw the writing on the wall. Everybody was like, why is Bob shitting on his best fighter, one of his best fighters? Why is Bob, after Terrance Crawford fights Kell Brook, coming out and saying, well, the guy can't draw and I've lost so much money on him? Why do that? Because in a court of law, those words are going to be very important. When you say, well, you know, my whole career and tenure with Top Rank was based off of racist motivations. For then Bob to come back and say, well, you know, I'm on record in front of the entire world telling you the reason we wanted to let you go, or the reason we didn't believe in you, is because of X, Y.
Now, what I will say about the Top Rank approach to promoting is that I find it very cookie cutter. You're Puerto Rican, let's get you in the garden on Puerto Rican Day Parade. You're Irish, let's get you in the garden on St. Patrick's Day. You're Mexican, let's get you out on Cinco de Mayo or on Mexican Independence Weekend. You're a Jewish, well, you know, Yuri Foreman, let's play to that. You know, let's really talk about that a lot. The African-American fighter, the Black Cuban fighter, in the case of Rigondeaux, they can't necessarily be promoted like that. It's very difficult to promote someone in that kind of a cookie cutter way if they are an Afro-Cuban or if they are an African-American.
It's a great point.
What are you gonna do? Have a Martin Luther King Day like weekend fight? This doesn't work. You know what I mean?
You could do Cuban fighters in Miami, you know, but outside of that, yeah, I hear you.
I tried that too before.
Here's the problem with that, Mike. He actually said years ago, I can't promote these black Cubans because the white Cubans in Miami don't want
Yeah.
to support them.
Somebody just tells me they have a racial bias, so we're suing them because there's no case there. As people mentioned that besides Fury, who was in 2 big pay-per-views, he made more money than any of those guys. He never once complained about it the whole time. I agree that Arum should not have been around saying he's losing money with Crawford and all that. But I'll tell you what, in the court of law, if that's true, Top Rank could prove that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hey, I did lose money with this motherfucker. Here, let me show you why. Right? He said I said that because I'm racist. Nah, I did lose money. Let me show you. And I believe it. The money he was making, he wasn't selling shit. Right? And all the dudes that agree with that are having a field day today because it's convenient. For years, he should only get less than 40% against Spence because he can't sell shit. Crawford ain't shit. Crawford can't sell shit and all this. But today, he's the hero of the day, like the Metallica song. Okay? Like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Crawford. Yeah, sue him for being racist. Now, people could say, well, that's not what the lawsuit, that's not what they're saying, but that's how people are interpreting it. Right? Which tells me that's how they're putting the story out. Something tells me he probably has a legitimate gripe about some type of money or something that Arum owes him, right? And that's really what it's about. That's what I will say.